The Lowcountry Land Trust is celebrating a landmark year. Here to share more on how this organization continues to advance conservation efforts and preserve history is its president and CEO, Ashley Demosthenes. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you just recently earned a national recognition with the Angel Oak Project. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this.
Sure. So, of course, you know about the Angel Oak. Of course. It's a majestic tree on Johns Island. What you might not know is that the Lowcountry Land Trust owns 35 acres surrounding the tree.
Oh.
In partnership with the city of Charleston, who owns the tree and the ground that it sits on, we are undergoing a comprehensive planning process. And we hired a wonderful landscape architecture firm, Nelson Bird Woltz, to do that design work. It will be a passive preserve.
Okay.
Where there will be trails, a trail system, there will be boardwalks, there will be a new visitor center with some interpretive features. So there will be a lot of information sharing to the public about the significance of this site, from the ecology, the culture, the history, and then broader about the Sea Islands.
Because I know the Angel Oak, it's a huge tourist attraction.
It is.
So it brings a lot of people, not just the locals, but a lot of people who want to visit Charleston. They, of course, want to see this majestic tree.
Absolutely.
Which, how old is the tree?
Well, it is unknown, but the range is anywhere between 500 to 1,000 years.
Wow.
So it's let's just say it's old.
Yes, it's ancient. It truly is ancient. And that's just one example of the work that you do throughout the Lowcountry.
Yes.
And that's something that we have to contend with and fight against, is the development that's going on, because it is becoming such a popular place for people to move to from the rest of the country.
Exactly.
And we want to stay competitive with the rest of the country, yet we also want to preserve what makes it so special.
Precisely.
So how do you make that balance?
I know. I mean, we have to be very strategic about the lands that we prioritize and protect.
Yeah.
So we go to the places that have the highest conservation value, which could include historic uses. It could include, water quality, forest and farmlands. Those are, the types of lands that we're losing at an alarming rate in South Carolina. The statistic is 200 acres per day is what we're losing in South Carolina. So we try to prioritize as much forest and farmland, but also just places that are special, that have deep meaning for communities.
Sure, I know. And it becomes very obvious. And again, when you have a state that is rising and it is growing,
right,
it's got to make room for opportunities and for people to live.
Exactly.
So that's a hard one to contend with and to reconcile, isn't it?
It means making choices. And it also means making very smart decisions about where development should and should not go.
Yeah. So 200 acres per day. But since the Lowcountry Land Trust has come into its own, how many acres have actually been preserved, and many of these acres in perpetuity?
So for Lowcountry Land Trust alone, we have protected 163,000 acres. Wow. And that's over our nearly 40-year history. We have a goal of achieving 170,000 by the time 2025 comes to a close. Across the state, though, you have 3 million acres protected. And that's with all of our partners, our local, state, and federal partners, and of course, our NGOs as well.
Yeah. And also protecting the ecology. Because every time I see a forest taken down, I'm thinking, where are those poor animals going to go? And all the other little things that we don't even see.
Exactly.
That
soil, the organisms in the soil.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we have to start thinking about our natural resources as green infrastructure and how those forests and farms actually serve us in ways that we might not see right away, but it's so important. Flood water absorption is a big one.
100%. And I was going to say, it's not just the things that we see, the life in the trees and the plants, it's also the water.
Yes.
So how does the Lowcountry Land Trust protect our water resources?
Well, we own a great deal of salt marsh and freshwater marsh up and down the Ashley River, also around near Kiowa and Seabrook. So we try to, keep the adjacent uses to those marshlands protected and buffered.
Yeah.
We do a lot of land protection along river corridors.
Okay.
And that definitely protects water quality.
So you've secured nearly $11 million to continue the protection.
Correct.
What have you got coming up this year, or ways that people can get involved and be a little bit more mindful, or to actually have a tangible effect on the work that you're doing with it?
So there's a few different ways. You can get very direct directly involved with the land trust by volunteering your time. And so we have different opportunities to get your hands dirty and your boots muddy by doing an oyster restoration. As an example, it's a living shoreline restoration. In other ways, you can contribute to what we call the Opportunity Fund, and that is a pot of funding that we use to put down risk capital on a piece of property to buy it. So sometimes people really like that level of direct action, and then others like to get out in the field. We have a marvelous event coming up on April the 6th.
Please tell us, yes.
That is our annual spring gathering on a private protected property in the Ace Basin on the Combahee River. This property is so beautiful, and it's worth the time to take the trip down there. Because it's in a world-class conservation landscape, and it's a property you wouldn't otherwise see.
Sounds like heaven.
You join us on this particular.
How do people find out more information?
They can go to our website.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Appreciate your time and all the work that you're doing. It is truly God's work.
Thank you.
We're back after this.